Welcome everyone to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a movie, and that movie is Avatar: Way of the Water. My name is Anthony Ragucci, here to discuss, as always, the triple threat. Chris Trio.
I see you, Gooch.
I see you, Trio.
It is just to correct you before our mass comments do.
The
Way of Water.
Excuse me. Oh,
yeah.
The Way of Water, not way of the
not the way of the water,
or
no,
way of the water.
No, it's the way of water. Yeah. There we go. Enough of a review. Thank you guys for joining us. No, Gooch, we're here to discuss a sequel 13 years in the making.
Yes, sir.
I can't believe it's weird. James Cameron's first film since the last Avatar. Broad strokes. What did you think of The Way of Water?
Definitely an improvement across the board from the original. Obviously, you can check out our Rewind review. We discussed the original. We kind of did a little special, just me and Trio. We rewatched that because it's been so long since either of us saw it. And I would definitely recommend you rewatch it if you haven't in a while and you haven't watched Way of Water yet. It'll help you refresh some things.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I do think this movie kind of addresses a lot of points we had in our review about it being a little negative. Like, okay, like we really get into the world of Pandora. With another tribe, we're seeing different evolutions of Na'vi, flora, fauna. Like they we have a 3 hour and 10-minute runtime here, and we have a lot of time in that 3 hour movie to do something with, right? And James Cameron spends a lot of that time just exposing the viewer to Pandora, and I think we kind of needed that. Definitely, I think it's up for debate about that, but I feel like this makes sense because the first one, like we said, it was like a weird pacing. It was like 2 acts, and it's like, okay, we're introduced, we're thrown in, but we're focusing on the story, and then the movie's kind of like this big war's happening, and we're like coming to a close, but like we really never like dove super deep into the lore of Pandora. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Would I like go out and watch it again? No. It feels like a 3 hour and 10-minute movie. Like it's not. It wasn't like super slow to me, but it was not super fast to me either.
Sure.
Like Snyder Cut, for example, I thought that was fast, but like at not one point where I was like, I wonder what time. Like I wonder how far away to this we are. I was just kind of like super engrossed the whole time with that. With this, I was just like, yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the length.
I know for me at least that definitely comes down to subject matter too. If I'm like I can watch the 4 hour Snyder Cut, and I think that's a tiny bit different just because of the way you can experience that if you want from home. And even the first time you saw it like this, you're sitting through 3 hours, whether you like it
in a theater
or not in a theater.
And I did see it in 2D, by the way. Not
IMAX.
You
didn't see it in 3D. I didn't know that.
I did.
I
did not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just assumed you went to an IMAX 3D.
I was talking
why.
about it, and I asked my dad. I was like, hey, like, it's only an IMAX 3D. Do you want to do that? And he said no. And I'm like, all right. But I would have.
Sure.
But you did see it in IMAX 3D.
I just saw it in 3D. The IMAX was full.
Yeah.
So I just saw it in 3D because I kept seeing Mr. Cameron, James himself,
so what'd you
saying, go see it. But overall, this world and everything just... Let me restart. The first movie I did have a good amount of complaints with. I don't really feel like they addressed them in which ones we were saying. I think they explored the lore of like the Na'vi and Pandora a lot in the last one, but it was just that apparently sect of Na'vi. We didn't know that there was such kind of astronomical differences between certain tribes. Like I did like a lot of the world building. It was interesting to see the Metcaine, where like I think was the name of the water tribe, but it's just an hour too long. It feels like a technical showcase for really amazing and truly jaw-dropping effects to certain degrees. I mean, you absolutely 100% completely forget that most of this is basically an animated movie. And that's crazy.
That was one thing I noticed that was gone from the first one. Remember how we talked when we jumped back to the humans after maybe like 30, 40 minutes with the Na'vi, and it was like kind of jarring?
Yeah.
That's gone.
I agree.
In this one.
Yeah.
I really don't think there is a flaw in the CGI.
No,
like
it's a spectacular looking film.
Yeah, you can tell they spent the money and they spent the time to get this right. And I'm actually curious when they finished filming. And
4 years ago.
Wow.
That's when they finished filming.
But I'm curious how much post-production time was actually taken.
I mean, if it was finished 4 years ago, and that would have been 2018. So that's like 4 years of post, like 3, because we're getting once that. I guess there is still post production up until release, even with CGI. I mean, they keep touching things up.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's about 4 years of just developing and honing that CGI. And listen, I can't help but give James Cameron a lot of credit. He is an auteur filmmaker. He really cares about this technology, and he knows what he's doing. But I just think he really loses me in the story of it all. I don't really care about Jake Sully and the Na'vi.
I found I was caring a little bit more in this one.
I did like that Jake was a lot less of a thundering dumbass in this one. He felt like a competent character, and I actually will give Sam Worthington credit for doing a great job. And him and Zoe Saldana, what was her name in the movie? Neytiri. They have a great romance. I will give that to them. They felt like a couple that was together for a while.
Speaking of Jake, I really liked how they kept his Jarhead Marine background very much still
in the
intact.
forefront, yeah.
Because that's what he is. He's a Marine. So, and he and they're in a tribal family and they're fighting to survive to various extents in their lifespan.
Sure.
Whether it's between the flora and fauna or the sky people.
Sure.
And Jake's like running his family like a unit, and like a military unit, and once the sky people come back, obviously that kicks into like a full new effect.
Sure.
Where like the first time he's interacting with his kids, he's like ordering them.
Yeah.
Not as a father, but like as a general, as a commander. And another aspect of this film I love the kid element. I think that brought a new flair and a new perspective that the first one didn't have. I don't know if I like Spider a lot. He was kind of like and I found him like a little annoying.
Can someone get him some pants? Like, why is that poor kid's running around? They don't have anything below that loincloth.
I loved Kiara.
Was that the Water Tribe one?
Weaver.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked her character, and I think they're setting her up to be a bigger part of something.
I agree.
But yeah, like all the kid characters I found just like very likable, I like how they called each other bro, and I don't know if they say bruv, but like cuz, like they used like normal kid vernacular to talk to each other, and like if they're getting in fights, they're competing, like one of them likes the girl, like it, like they didn't, like imagine if James Cameron like dipped real hard in on like the culture and sort of was like redefined what being a kid is, and he decided to not to, and I think that paid off pretty well.
No, I agree. I think the kid actors, you can go one of two ways with child actors. One is really great, and one is just they're kind of wooden.
And I guess
they're
like, I don't know if they're kids. They're
like teenagers. I think some of
them.
What was her name? The youngest one. Sorry, with a T. Not Kitty. Kitty is Sigourney Weaver's character.
No, it's not Kitty. It's Kiari. It's Kiari.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought they were calling
Kitty.
Oh, interesting. I heard Kitty the entire time.
No. Not Loak.
Took, right.
Took.
But speaking of Sigourney Weaver and also Stephen Lang's character, those felt like James Cameron didn't want to throw out those actors to me. Like they felt like very
absolutely. Stephen Lang, I think there's a debate there. I think he was good.
He was great. I actually thoroughly enjoyed him in this movie, and seeing him as an avatar the entire time was very cool. I mean, slight spoilers here off the top. I mean, that's literally revealed within the first 5 minutes of the movie. And you see him actually within. You see like Avatar Marines in the 'trailer and things like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting, but again, it kind of felt like this kind of post-write of that script. He's had 13 years to decide, like, well, do I want to bring this person back? Do I not? And I do think if this movie came out more closely to its original, people would have been like, that seems like a cheap trick. But since it's so 13 years on, I think people are a bit more accepting, at least in my opinion. But I did find it funny at the beginning. You were speaking of how they like talk. They Valkyrie it right off the top.
Oh, like
remember they start speaking in Na'vi, and then he's like, it almost just sounds like English to me, and then it transitions to them all speaking English, but they're really supposed to be speaking.
I didn't catch that.
Na'vi. Oh, you didn't at the beginning?
I now that you say it, I see it.
Yeah,
but
he says it, and I was like,
it.
ooh, good trick, James. I like it. And they do speak Na'vi here and there. One thing that did throw me off with the 3D was reading subtitles in 3D
in the papyrus
because it was like
we didn't mention that in the review. He uses like a very like the papyrus font
that
like everyone has access to on like Microsoft Word. It's a funny choice, but
and I think we mentioned in the first one he used a ton of Jurassic Park, just dinosaur sounds straight ripped from the movie for like things in that movie.
Yeah. So did the 3D? You were just talking about it.
It was fine.
How was seeing the movie in 3D? I mean,
It was cool.
It's been a while since I know you've seen a movie in 3D. As for me,
no, absolutely. It was
3D.
cool. I mean, it's definitely not that classic like whoa, like it's always in your face and they're really trying to commit to the 3D. It just felt more atmospheric, and especially when they're swimming in the water and all the fauna's around and the fish are flying through. It's cool. Maybe I'd be interested to see this in not 3D again, but probably not. And I doubt it would make a major difference for me. Who knows? Maybe the IMAX 3D is insane. But overall, not a fan of 3D and 3D glasses. I will give it to them. The 3D glasses that they had, they do fit very well over your glasses.
So I think we both went to KOP, right?
Yep.
They had I haven't seen 3D glasses in a minute, and I think they were like special avatar ones, right?
Yeah, I don't think we didn't get those. We just got regular ones for some reason. I don't know if that's maybe because like we didn't go to the 3D, the IMAX 3D or something. Maybe they only give it in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just felt like the entire movie was just to show you this part of Pandora. And is that something you're fine with?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Like this engrossed you enough to be like, this is cool just on its face visually. Because I found the story itself to just be very stupid. Jake Sully's like, I'm going to run from, like, the Sky people come back after the war that Jake Sully started and fought with them. I was well with the Na'vi, and then he's like, I'm just going to run because they'll leave you alone if I run. It's like, no, they won't. They'll go raid that village, ask them where you went. They won't tell them. And then you're just going to ruin that village and then go to another village and bring the Sky people to them. It just didn't feel like a smart. I mean,
that seemed obvious enough that.
But that's what I was saying. So like, why leave?
What's the
point?
What's the alternative?
Stay there and fight them. You have a really great battleground within those Hallelujah Mountains. They haven't found them. I know they said Spider would have given them away, but they don't even really touch on that after they just leave, and you don't even hear anything.
Well, it seems like
about the forest people.
He doesn't. By the way,
exactly.
Edie Falco. What a surprise to see her.
Who is that?
This Carmela from The Sopranos.
Who
The
does she
female
play?
general.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I was like, turning to my dad. I'm like, Edie Falco? I'm like, what?
What?
I was
Who
like,
thought?
did I know she was in this? I
Yeah.
was like, okay, yeah. She's also in like Nurse Jackie. So she did The Sopranos, Nurse Jackie, and I think she's had some other TV roles.
Interesting.
But yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was a great video game trailer. I want to play this game. I want to. I want to.
Yeah, I mean, there is a game.
There is coming,
out.
and I kind of understand why they have maybe been pushing it, because you could make an incredible open world or just story based game, and it would be a lot of fun. But I think just visually seeing this is cool and interesting. But
I'm definitely more interested in the game now.
Definitely,
Yeah,
I would
now
agree with
Avatar's
that.
a bit back.
Sure,
You know.
and they definitely planted a lot of seeds in this movie for the future ones to come. When they talk about Earth a bit, and they talk about what's going on there
With Iwa and I think it's Kiri. Kiri? I'm gonna go with Kiri.
Mm-hmm.
Sigourney Weaver's character. She's like some sort of mystic or sage. She has like a special connection to Iwa. And,
I felt like that was
can control
supposed to be
stuff.
like a Jesus allegory or something, with the way of like born of, like she was kind of like an immaculate conception. That doesn't make any sense because they really.
Oh right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so, I'm kind of
yes and no,
that.
but yes. Now that you say it, yeah, because I was curious. I'm like, okay, like who did she like? Even the kids are like.
Do we want to get into some spoilers?
Absolutely.
All right, spoiler. I don't know. I say wait until this is at home to go see. I really didn't find it to be like this. If you like the first one, you'll like it.
If you got a group of friends, go see it.
Yeah, and I think if you like the first one, you will enjoy it.
I think if you want to see it in theaters, get the full effect, I would, but like you could not that you could like I liked it, but I'm not like everyone needs to see this movie right fucking now.
And I will say the non 3D like showings, even our showing, and we went to a 20 showing, so that's part of that. But even for the night before when I was checking times,
my theater wasn't full, and they must have like moved our theater to another theater, and they fucked the whole seating up.
Oh,
They
really?
like moved my seats, and I was like, I haven't gone to like a box office to like ask anyone anything in a theater in like a long fucking time.
Yeah, it's almost like a useless job.
We like switched our seats, and like apparently like I'm like, so the seats that were open were actually taken.
Idiots.
Yeah, no, sorry. The seats that were taken were actually open.
Yeah,
the
so
seats that
vice-
were open were
Or
not.
taken, yeah.
Or the seats that were taken were not.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, vice
and I was
versa.
just
Yeah.
like, because I was talking to him. I'm like, you know, my ticket says like theater 7, but the guy told me theater 5, and I'm like, did you guys like
Well, what's going on?
I was like, it looks like you guys just moved the theater, and my seats are like, when you switch it over, like my seats are wrong. And the guy like really didn't want to entertain my knowledge of and I'm like, yeah, I used to work in a movie theater, like a Regal, and I'm like, yeah, like I know what we did. And I'm like, it's fine. I'm like, can I just
make sure that these seats are good?
And he's like, yeah, and you know, like he was just like kind of an asshole. He had a mask on too, and I didn't really understand what he was saying through the thing. So like, there was a loss of communication there. I thought I was being like a nice guy. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting into the spoilers, like the kids kind of are like, yeah, you know, I wonder who's what's her name?
I can't remember.
The professor,
yeah,
Sarah?
Sigourney Weaver's original
Sarah?
character, I think so.
Sarah?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, who Sarah like banged. I bet it was, you know, the one dude that's in
I thought his avatar died too. The other dude, it's he wasn't in this much, but he was in it. The original scientist from the first one.
Yeah, he's
his assistant.
What's that?
I know him from Grandma's Boy the most.
Who's that actor? Justin Long.
Yeah,
he's in a lot of Justin Long's movies.
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
I can't remember either.
But yeah,
he's in Dodgeball. He's the weird guy.
Yeah. Like, okay, they're like, you know, who did she bang? Like, whose kid are you?
Yeah.
And yeah, like, you know, in the intro, like Jake's like, yeah, like she was just pregnant.
Yeah, so Chiari is the daughter of Sarah, I can't remember her name, the doctor's avatar.
Yeah.
So we don't know, not her. Like her avatar got pregnant after they tried to transfer her consciousness into it and she died. So then she just was born and she doesn't really know why. She seems to have this very, very strong connection to like, what is it again? Iwa. And no, I do think that's supposed to be like kind of like a daughter of Iwa.
But it's interesting. It's not Jake. You know, even though Jake was like posed this as this like legend hero character.
Yeah.
Who's like, you know, prophesized and, you know,
who Iwa, the god, literally stands behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But I didn't really care. I don't know. There's interesting ideas, but mostly throughout this I was just like, what cool visual is going to come next? And don't get me wrong, there are a fuck ton of cool visuals, and the CGI, especially when they're underwater, it looks great. It does.
It's funny comparing a movie like this to probably the only thing you could say is Aquaman, where you're
to a degree, absolutely, for especially like, CGI underwater.
It's so funny. Like I know they filmed a lot underwater, and
that's why it took so long because they were trying to do that technology.
It paid off, man. It looks flawless. It does not look weird when they're underwater.
But also, they had 4 years to work on it. On top of that, so I do think if this movie didn't look amazing, even like I think people would be rightfully upset.
Right, but I think this is what happens when you take the time to make a movie on this scale with this much CGI. Like, you need the time, clearly. Maybe not 4 years.
No, absolutely. And I think that's something we said about CGI forever. It's like, if you give a CGI artist enough time, it will look good. But the problem with most of that stuff today, like you're saying, is they rush it. They want to get it out in however long of a time. But unless you have someone like James Cameron backing you and being like, all right, well, we are taking 4 years on this and a $2.9 billion original behind you, it's tough to convince people about that. But no, you're right. It does show you what time and effort can do with CG. I'm trying to think of others. Again, like, I just don't even really remember much of the story. I remember it starts out, we spend an hour in the forest again. Why? And then...
Like 40 minutes.
No, it was like an hour. I checked. It started at... I was checked my phone more in this movie for time, more than I've ever checked my phone in a movie. It was like 55 to an hour 5 in. He's finally like getting his family ready to go and leave. And then it's like, all right, we're going to go to the Way of Water now. Great. And then it's just that it's the first movie again. They're just learning things from the world. And that's cool.
Yeah, they're learning how to acclimate to this tribe and be useful. And, you know, it's kind of hard for everybody in a way. And
they're treated as outsiders.
They're outsiders. They're treated like shit. They don't have the physical features.
I was going to say, on top of not being a sea Navi, they are
they have a
they're
different
crossbreeds,
skin tone,
as they say. Yeah,
they have human hands. Their tails aren't as thick for swimming, and they have smaller legs. They're thinner. Like
that was a cool. Yeah, they like the Medcaine have like fins and stuff. Yeah, like, they have like a tadpole tail almost.
They have 3 fingers, but like one of their fingers are like.
It has a fin off the side.
It fins off their arm. Yeah,
it's cool. Again, a lot of the designs and such in this Very interesting.
And then I really like the Talcon thing with the whales, and I like how like there was a business around, like, it's funny because like the whalers, for lack of better word, like kind of respected what was it, Medcaine?
Medcaine, yeah.
They respected the Medcaines, like
space and ocean,
and like the group of Talcon that were theirs, and they only hunted like one at a time.
And the Talcon, by the way, are whales that are sentient.
Yeah, and and it was interesting to see, like, okay, like unobtainium, fuck that, it's the brain juice.
The brain goo.
The brain juice from the Talcons that is worth 180 million a pop.
I thought he said 80 million like a vial.
Yeah, 80 million a vial, yeah.
Yes, so, and it just stops aging, apparently.
Yeah, so I was kind of, again, we didn't get a lot of Earth lore. I'm curious, when the Sky People came back, is it the same company? Is it a different company? Are they kind of
again? I do think the human side, like we said in the first one, is kind of,
and like I'm like, so how long have these whale people been here? Like, is it like did they kick everyone off because and then like they came back, and then within a year they kind of reestablished themselves? They clearly built a city.
Yeah, no, well, and in a year. Well, that's the thing.
That was crazy.
Another line I kind of hated was she's like, we did more in a year here than you did in 30, and I'm like, how? How did you do that? I guess
they built a city.
No, I know, but I guess I'm just like, how? I don't know. It just felt weird to me. Like, I'm like, well, you did more than they did in 30 years? What were they doing?
But they seem like their presence now seems to be mostly resources and militaristic only.
And we found out they're trying to prepare it for Earth to be there, because did you catch that part where she's like, Earth is dying?
No.
Oh, yeah. There's a part where she's like, it's a totally different thing now. Earth is dying, son. We need to set up Pandora for us. And that means dealing with the natives and all that stuff. And yeah, so that's another big again, very super heavy environmental themes in this again. I mean, you got whaling, literally.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, this idea that Earth is dying and they have to basically move. So I would assume that involves some type of terraforming and things like that. They don't really outright say that. But I do forget that they can't breathe, humans can't breathe the air on Pandora. But we see with the avatars, like the Colonel Avatar, who's the human avatar, they can breathe our oxygen for a little while, but every once in a while he had to take like a puff of his.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be a little bit more angry at himself for turning himself into a Na'vi.
Well, so it was funny because he's like not like, and like they were kind of like hitting this nail on the head that like the new Miles Avatar version is not really him. It's just like his memories and his personality. It's not actually him.
So you know what I took from that too?
What?
I think it's the same for Jake Sully. I think that's how it works. I think the tree took all his information, because that's even how she explains it in the first Avatar. Took all his information and basically just put a copy of him in the Avatar body, and then they tossed the real Jake Sully. I don't know if it killed him when they did that, but it kind of goes back to this idea, because they very clearly state that he is not the same person. He's just his memories. I'm very curious if that's how the tree works as well. And, you know, they talk about this in like Westworld and stuff too. It's like, well, you can keep your consciousness going, but it's not really you.
And now the question is, what makes a person if not their memories?
Exactly.
And their personality? Because that is pretty much what makes a person a person.
But it's like, yeah.
Miles clearly delineated himself from his human version.
Yeah.
To the point where he picks up his own skull and crushes it.
Yep.
Like he clearly, like, he's like, you know,
metaphor, Gooch.
Stronger, better, faster now, and he's leaving his weaker form behind.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely a metaphor. I was cool that kind of returned, and he was still there. They never.
Stephen Lang was great. I will give it to him. He was better in this one than he was in the first, for sure.
Yeah. Well, he had his character kind of like evolved.
It
a
did.
Little bit.
Yeah,
literally
absolutely.
and or figuratively and literally.
There was. It was funny. I thought they were going to try and hide the bag on the spider being his son thing. But then they kind of outright were like, that was my dad. I was like, oh, okay. Because I knew that off of when he said that. I was like, that's his dad.
This fucking kid. I was like, really? Like, we're going to have this fight and he's dead in the water. He like drowned.
He would have been. I don't know how he's not dead already. But.
Right. And I'm like, oh, he fucking saves him, dude. What a dumbass.
I know, but I think
this fucking kid.
I will give Cameron a slight bit of credit on that one. That like. I genuinely did not expect for him to like put the kid down, or Jake's kid down for his like son. Like when when she was gonna slice Spider.
Neytiri.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? He doesn't care.
by the
And then
way-
they actually did. I was like, oh, that genuinely surprised me. I
Zoe
didn't see that coming.
Saldana's cry is back.
It is.
I think that's an Avatar thing because other people kind of also.
No, I think that is too. You're probably right. She's great in this. I got to give her a lot of credit. Even like when she sings and stuff, it's very. Even like the first one, it's a very spiritual movie. It definitely focuses on their more traditions and things like that. I did find that like the Water Tribe wasn't insanely different in certain ways, but then of course they were just mostly different based on how
Location.
they location. So that is interesting. And
I mean, that's how it is here.
no, it's true, but they literally have genetic, and I guess you have genetic differences based, like I mean, skin tone wise, I should say.
Right, it's
based
not
off.
as,
It's not as literally drastic as like you have fins and I don't.
It's skin color and hair. Mostly.
Yeah, that's literally it. That's and
it's not like like Asian people have like a different set of like bones.
well,
and
yeah, I guess
we
like
do.
different races have different features too. So I guess you
Right,
could point to
but
that,
it's
but
not-
it's not like literally my hands aren't fins and your hands are
Right.
Yeah. So that was an interesting kind of idea. What did you think about like the tribe leaders for them and stuff like that? I actually did like the Water
Kate
Tribe leader.
Winslet was the female,
Yep.
right?
I don't know who the male was.
I almost couldn't tell it was her.
I wouldn't have known either.
It
No, it
doesn't-
was Kate Winslet. It's Kate Hudson. I thought. Or is it Kate? It's definitely not Kate Winslet. It's the girl from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I know that because I watched it with my girlfriend. And you know what? It was actually a pretty good movie.
no, I think it is Kate Winslet.
I don't think it is. Let's see. Avatar,
Just look up Kate.
The Way of Water. Let's see. Oh, you're right. It's Kate Winslet.
Yeah,
Well,
because she
then who
held her
was that?
breath for 7 minutes.
That's right.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
while recording.
Well, I mean, multiple people almost drowned in James Cameron's, like when he was filming The Abyss, apparently, because they filmed that a lot of that actually underwater too, and like this kind of like big tank. He
Yeah.
almost drowned too.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's leveled out a tiny bit, but I mean, he's insane. I mean, we talked about how in the first one he apparently nailed people's phones to the wall if they went off during the set. Good stuff. There's a whole story too. Sorry, quick sidebar. Apparently, I didn't know this. I sent the video Mr. Sunday made to the Discord. Someone like poisoned him and the entirety of the Titanic crew, like on one of the last days, and with the catering. Yeah, they put like I think angel dust in the clam chowder, and like it was apparently chaos on set. Like everyone's running around, like freaking out. Apparently, James went and like threw up to get the. It's insane. I didn't know about this at all. It's a real thing. Look
That's
it up.
crazy.
James Cameron, Titanic poisoning. Apparently they think it was like a disgruntled like employee that got fired and just laced the clam chowder that they had on set. Insane story.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so getting back to the ending, yeah. So like, what did you think of the impact of I forget the son's name because of an M.
I can't see. That's
his oldest. The names are kind of hard to get down.
that was definitely one of the more touching scenes in the movies for me for sure. And it was sad.
Yeah,
It makes sense that they gave him so many kids to kind of do that with. But I kind of didn't notice that at the beginning. But
I like the way he died. It was very not slow, very quick. Like once
we're not going to say like we're going to try. And then he's like,
once they got him up on land, I'm trying to remember how he gets killed. He gets
shot like literally through the heart.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. And they get him up on land, and he takes his final breaths and says like a few words, doesn't even finish the sentence, dead. Like he's not like gasping for air and like having this last scene. Like he dies.
Yeah,
like,
it's over.
pretty brutally. And then we get the Neytiri cry, and everyone's like obviously upset, and the revenge kicks in.
And I got to admit, the last 45 minutes where I really kind of
Dude, the
sunk in.
lighting when like people are in the water and their faces are wet, and the light from the fire. Oh my god!
No, it's crazy. It looks
some of
real.
the scenes from with like interesting lighting, like that specifically.
Well,
like,
even there was one
and with
shot-
the water mixed
Yes.
in, it looked great.
Well, yeah, there's so many things you have to create on top of that just to make it. It's all those little touches, and there's so many truly great scenes in this visually. And I mean, we saw a few of them in the trailer, but even when they're going up and like hugging the whales and things like that, you do get a grand sense of scale. And like, I will say, he makes Pandora look cool and look like a really like amazing place I want to visit and like learn this people's culture. But like, I just wish I cared more about like these characters, and I felt like they were, I don't know, had more of a purpose. It just felt like this movie was done, at least story arc wise, to just get Jake Sully to where I kind of felt like he was at the end of the first one. Like he drove them off the planet the first time. I would have assumed when they came back, he was ready to do that again. Like, I don't know. I guess the idea is because he has a family now. Maybe he
Like
has
a
more to
family
lose.
would probably change.
That would change you a little bit. But at the same time, it's, to me, naive and dumb, which I don't feel like he should be by this time, to think, well, if I just run away, it'll be fine. You know what I mean? And I also thought it was a dumb idea. I called it off the bat when they called out their friends to the island to check on her after she has her seizure, Kiari. And they like, we tracked a helicopter going out this way. It's like, yeah, of course they would. Like, why wouldn't, like, I don't know. Little things like that maybe it's nitpicking, and that's totally fair to say.
I mean, I think the family element kind of...
It's the strongest part for me.
Kiri, that's her name.
Kiri. What did we say?
Kiri.
That's right.
It's Kiri.
All right.
That's what I was Googling. Yeah, I think the kid element adds something that you and I probably can't relate to. I think if your family was in danger, you'd probably do anything and everything to
get them out of there.
Safety. I think if there weren't any kids, I think you would have seen that. Because Jake, he doesn't have anyone besides his wife. He doesn't really have it, and the people. He doesn't really have anyone else to protect that are like really close to him.
Sure, but I mean, he is the leader of the tribe. It just felt very odd to me that he's like, I'm not willing to sacrifice the tree people, but I'm willing.
If he stays there, like, then there's really going to be some damage because they're not going after the people; they're going after Jake. They say that they're not there to hunt the rest of the Na'vi. They're there to kill Jake Sully because killing him will stop the insurrection. That's their mission. They're not there to kill the Na'vi. They're there to cut the Hydras. Well, no, I mean, they're there to cut the head off of the snake.
Yeah, but they seem to be willing to kill a lot of Na'vi to find him, and I think that they would.
Sure.
And I feel like
they're willing to kill a lot of Na'vi no matter what.
It felt very weird to me that they didn't even try to like explain that. Like, did they follow up? How would they know that Jake Sully was gone? They would go to the tree people and fuck that place up to find him. That would be the first thing that they would do.
I think because the fighting and the resistance fighting they're doing stops because he's not there to lead it.
But like, they seem to know him, but that doesn't jive with me. You have this kid who knows where the thing is. And sure, I get it. He was under a bunch of torture and he didn't give it up for some reason. But then they just never address trying to find the like where he was after that. They somehow just know. I don't think them stopping like attacking is enough for them to be like, well, he's out of here. He left.
Well, Mayo seems to realize that, okay, we can't just like run in and try to like kill these Jake or the Na'vi because we're a little bit out of our element here. We're in new bodies. We're fighting like humans, not like Na'vi. So we need to become Na'vi. They go get the
They go get their horses. They're fly horses. No, I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah, the dragon things, and they do that, and I guess they get acclimated. They spend some time, I guess, understanding what they're doing, and then they kind of retool, and it's like, all right, we need to go find Jake.
We did spend a while without checking in on them.
This is the first lead we've had in months. We saw that there was a military helicopter out in the east. We need to go check there, and that's how it starts. I think you're kind of like making up a plot element that like isn't there.
I disagree. I don't know why they wouldn't go fuck that tree people up to try and find him if they can go there. I think to me he's willing to sacrifice water people, but not tree people by going and staying with the water people.
I think they're just staying focused on task and they're not getting crazy.
I just don't. I hear you. I don't agree with Jake Sully's reasoning for leaving, and I don't think that's how that's
what we're talking about.
But that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. Then because they will. It doesn't make any sense to me that they completely give up on looking for him in the mountains or anything.
I don't think they give up.
Well, they don't seem like they seem to have. We step away from them for almost an hour at one point.
He loses a lot of people when they first encounter them at that.
They do when they find the kids for the first time.
Right. So they probably realize, okay, like we need to reevaluate what we're doing here. We can't just run and gung ho like we just did because we're going to lose a lot of people. That's a lot of resources, and that they're irreplaceable avatars. I would assume they're pretty irreplaceable.
Well, I mean, that's just their second life. Yeah, they'd have to.
Right, and they're not all cooking ready to go like willy nilly. It seems.
No, I know that. It just
and we hear that they're getting every time they go in to fight them, they're getting fucked up.
Well, and that was the big thing about them being avatars. Like that makes the fauna react to them in a different way. Which again, that's an element that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, like you saw the way they took out that train, and they had pretty much no resistance to that. It seems like the military presence that is there is not really effective at fighting this resistance. And what is giving them the edge is this blue actual or that avatar unit.
No, it is. But again, I don't really see the edge. They kind of lost the edge once they leave the forest as much, anyways, because that's what they were fighting against. Again, I'm getting away from my first point. My first point is I don't understand why the Marines just left that whole tribe alone. Especially once they find the people out in the island. They know he's out there. They're just burning villages. Why would they not go up and fight? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Because
Spider wouldn't give them up. Like, they wouldn't have a way, because they would have just kept torturing him until he does. Then they find the tree people. They torture them. Jake probably didn't tell them where they went. They burned down their entire village.
They definitely did.
Yeah. And then they're fucked anyways. Like, I just felt like Jake was, and this is just my interpretation, felt like Jake was willing to bring them to another nation and not his own. Like, because he knows by being there, he's putting those people in grave danger. I don't agree with his thought process there. That's
what and the only other question I have for you, what other course of action would he have?
Stay there. You fight them. Like, what do you mean? It's either you sacrifice or you
but
don't
again,
live with another tribe.
You're then throwing out the element of his family away. You're just deciding to not care about.
No, I disagree, because
that's why he leaves, though. That's why he leaves.
I get that, but they're still gonna find you out there anyways. Like, so your family's gonna be in danger no matter what. I get it. I guess it's a selfish thought process. Especially after
minimizing risks, not fully.
But there's still there's less of a risk for them maybe to find him, but if they do, there's just as much damage that will happen. Like, they seem to really be key in on Jake Sully, which I get. He started the whole Na'vi. I guess he did start the whole Na'vi, like, kind of real insurgency and got them off the planet. But it just felt like a vessel to get us to the water tribe or whatever. To just be like,
yeah, I mean, sure, I guess you're right.
No, it's not even necessarily about me being right. It's just that's what it felt like to me. You know what I mean? I just really didn't care for that whole plot line. But once we got to the water people, there was a lot of fun visuals. It was kind of cool to see how their whole tribe interacts. But I did want to be swept away, Gooch. I did. I wanted to really enjoy this. And maybe I needed a better outlook going in, because that 3 hours and 10-minute runtime was really staring me down the barrel of a gun. And it felt like you could have cut 45 minutes at least off this movie. And apparently James Cameron was trying to get it to like 4 hours. And I don't find this world to be that engrossing for me to want to stay for 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I think if anything, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about the what is it? Metcaine.
That's the only one I remember for some reason.
Yeah, if there was anything else there you want to talk about, but
not really.
Trying to think if there's anything else. I like how it ends. I like how there's this, like, I guess he's kind of like wanting revenge.
Well, no, again, I felt like he was at the place where he was at the beginning of the end of the last movie. I can't just run. I need to fight. It's like, yeah, Jake, they're coming. They're invading.
Right,
like,
right. They're gonna come harder.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? You just push them off. And again, the Na'vi seem to be pretty tactically wise, and they're taking down a lot of stuff. But I mean, I don't know. You're bringing force to bear, and I feel like if I were him, I would have been spending those years that they were gone preparing, because it's coming. Why wouldn't you? And again, that comes from me putting myself in the shoes. But like that's the thing I'm having trouble with here. Even with it, this is a 3 hours and 10-minute movie. I can't really remember most of it. Like or like the major points that I feel like are like
I think the major narrative points are pretty easy, but like I'm saying, like, most of the movie is focused on just exploring Pandora
and living in the culture, basically.
Right. And I think that's why it's a long movie, because that's what James Cameron wanted to do, and that's why there probably wasn't a lot cut from that middle portion of the movie. But I will say this: I feel like the acts are cut up much better than the first one. Can you agree there?
Yeah, I guess. Like, you got Act 1 in the trees.
Right.
Act 2 is them kind of acclimating. And then Act 3
is kind of like the end conflict
with the whalers and shit like that.
It's like once the Taucan kind of come back to the village, that's kind of when the third act starts culminating and things start coming to a head.
I did feel like there was even more Halo inspiration this time around with just the mechs and even the birds. I feel like looked even more Halo-y to me.
There was a lot more like bullpup guns.
Yeah, for sure.
In the shoulder.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is James Cameron kind of taking a bit of a thing from it. Definitely felt like more kind of Halo-ish technology.
I like the new,
like the UNSC stuff.
We don't have like a Big Mac, but we have like a prosthetic like extension.
That was cool.
Yeah, but it's not. It seems like it's not like a big artillery mech.
It's
just
more
kind
to
of
get
like,
you a bit more strength and keep you a bit taller, and they seem to
like
use
an
it more for.
exosuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Felt weird that she was drinking the coffee with it.
Yeah, I was
I was
trying
like,
to figure
put it in
out,
your
I'm like,
hand.
how would you do that?
No, it's I'm like, just put it in your regular hand.
Yeah,
What are you
wouldn't
doing?
that feel weird?
That would feel so odd. I guess you'd get used to it. And she's just walking around in it. Yeah, that was
So
funny.
when do you think we're gonna see the next Avatar movie to kind of close this out? Are we gonna wait another fucking?
I would assume
13
it's not
years?
as long, but
Is it filmed?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I may be wrong on that, but I'm fairly confident it's not.
We definitely got to talk about box office.
Absolutely, I do want to in a sec. Yeah, but
Okay.
One last question is like, does this feel like a movie that should have taken 13 years to come out to you?
Yeah. It does.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
Because I think if Marvel did something like this, it wouldn't look this good. Just
Well,
comparing.
but that's I guess not like I guess
I think it took 13 years.
I don't even need to like with even a Marvel compare. Like it's just why like what makes the the story itself is so.
I don't think we're
It's
talking
just
about the story.
I guess the technology.
What made it take so long to make the technology, the CGI?
But like, was it worth waiting this long to just like for it? Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
I
didn't
think
find
so.
that the story itself or the technology was such this like crazy mind blowing thing that it.
Let
took
me know when you
13
watch
years.
another movie on that level.
In what way?
What other movie have you seen that looks as good as Avatar and is CGI like mostly the whole thing? Like what movie?
But that's not why I go to like. That's cool. But again, you're talking about
But,
the
like,
technical
that's
showcase
kind
of
of-
it. Like that's.
But that's kind of like the point of the movie.
Yeah, I guess I don't like that point. Because again, I think it was more of a jarring, cool thing back in the day. But now it's like that's really good CGI. And guess what? Other places can do that if they want to put in 4 years.
It is
to
more mainstay, but I think still movies aren't doing CGI on the level that James Cameron decided to do Avatar with, or felt it was necessary that Avatar needed to be the apex predator of this this sect of film.
Yeah, I go back to Scorsese. He liked to call the Marvel movies an amusement park, and this feels like an amusement park to me. Like it just feels like you're there to look at it for the most part, and that's fine. But I just don't like. I want the story to match up to the CGI quality.
I don't think the story is that bad that I would point it out like you are.
Sure.
Especially in the sequel. I think the story is much more better rounded this time around. Yeah, and it's definitely landing at mid-tier movie for me. Or sorry, mid-tier film.
Yeah, I'd say top tier movie.
What it's missing, I think, is the Oscar award-winning performances. I think everyone does great acting, but nobody really stood out to me as like, wow, that was a real award-winning performance. Everyone,
I agree.
Everyone does a great job, and I think, but no more, no less.
Sure. Yeah, I wish I was as high. I don't know. Overall, it was a bit of a 3-hour slog for me. So I guess mid-tier movie. I can't make it a flick.
It's definitely not a flick. Just on premise.
It's a technical showcase at the end of the day. That's what it is for me. And that's fine. And I get that that's what James wants to do. But I personally would have rather see him take the last 13 years and make a crazy cool new IP and do something on this scale with the CGI like that. But they wouldn't do that because it wasn't approved thing, I assume. Like they're like, no, you have this this movie that made $2.9 billion. We're not going to let you take 13 years to make a different movie, but you can take 13 years to make this, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean,
and that's just not a tenable system either. Like not every actor
I respect
can do
where
that.
you're coming from, but it's not like we have a lot of movies like this, so I think that's why I'm a little bit more reverent to it than you are, because I think I recognize what it's trying to do and what other movies aren't doing and what other movies are struggling to do, where we sit here and we kind of belittle and get upset about CGI when it's bad. And obviously, most famously, we Marvel is where those discussions usually come up, and it's not every Marvel movie that's bad, but we've talked about this. It's more recently that these these Marvel movies get put in the oven and they come out a little early, and
Well, most of the time their CGI scenes are decided before they even go into production. That's even before the script has been started.
maybe the way they're doing it is wrong.
No, and that's again, I think
And
that's
it could be better. There could be a better process for how they're doing things.
But
maybe,
it's
maybe
not
they could take a note out of James Cameron's book. Maybe not to make the movie longer in production, but like do something different to make the CGI better.
Just work on them. It's not even do something. It's just take the time. Because CGI, I'm sorry, the CGI of Thanos does look just as good as the avatars in this to me.
Yeah.
Because they spent the time on it. You see the pores. It's
a different priority level.
They just need to
CGI.
spend more time. That's what this shows me, if anything. But do you need 13 years or 4 years of pre-production to make something? Not everyone can do that. That's an untenable situation.
So that's why I asked you when we're going to see the next one, because I don't think waiting 13 years again is okay.
You have to do within 5. In my opinion.
I was like, give it to me within 5. I don't need it in 2 years. I don't need it in 3. I'm good for 5. I'm good to wait a little while.
Well, and I can't see what CGI advancements would need to be made to do more things.
Right,
But,
we're kind of hitting a
the
ceiling
water was
here.
one of the major things, and I can understand that why that took so long.
Like imagine a movie based around water CGI. Imagine a game based around water CGI. We know water's always a big thing in games.
It's the hardest thing it's the hardest thing to create in CGI.
Right.
I'm pretty
So
sure
that's why I look at it and go, yeah, maybe we really needed 13 years to do this, but that doesn't mean for the next one he needs another 13.
Sure. Again, I just like James Cameron when he's left to his own device, and he must have. I think he did really want to do this, so I'm not going to say that he didn't. But like he does make some really cool stuff.
Is it just his production studio behind this? Like, who's the big company? Like Paramount?
I think it might be. I can't remember off the top of my head who like produced it, but I think it's most of the CGI stuff's done in house. I think he has like a company that does that, and he does a lot of research on it when he's not submarining around the world. But yeah, I don't know exactly, to be honest, off the top of my head. It's weird because, again, no one's ever going to have like financial backing like this, especially coming up, unless they're a very proven thing to be able to wait this long to do a movie and really kind of. And I appreciate that James Cameron wants to push the technology forward and really create some in-depth and cool things. And he's a fantastic filmmaker. But at the end of the day, this movie's not for me, for sure. So
let's get to those box office numbers.
Let's do it.
Because that's definitely really important. This movie was a $2 billion endeavor.
See, so I don't know where I didn't know where Penza got that. I was looking. It says it cost about it said 400 on this Deadline article. Anyways,
okay, maybe he's wrong.
Let's see. I know he might be. I'm curious where he. Oh, got that number. Penza, friends of the show. So Disney's Avatar: The Way of Water. Oh, that's right, Disney. This is the one. Right. Duh, fucking idiot. Me. Way of the Water is coming close to where we told you last night. So total, the global is a 40. This is okay. Local, it's 134 million in the U.S. box office. Global, it's 435 million total.
Wow.
So this puts it very close to notching. So the start of Avatar 2 puts Disney very close to notching the 4 billion mark worldwide for this year. So I guess that means within this like month year. So it apparently missed its projection, but they're really kind of waiting to see what the next couple things in. So it says,
I mean, we're approaching Christmas and New Year's. Like, I guarantee you, a lot of families are going to go out to the theater to see this movie if they haven't already.
So right here, it's saying it cost around 460 million before
CGI?
marketing.
Oh, before marketing.
Okay. So that is a very expensive movie. And usually the idea is you double. You usually double that for marketing. I don't know how that works exactly for this because that's such a high movie. So I guess they'd have to. That makes sense that they'd have to make $2 billion, I guess, to really, really be in the green at least.
I think. They're hoping do you think they'll get there? Because I don't know. Feeling they will, but it is such a high number. We're not really usually dealing with such a high.
Again, I don't necessarily, looking back, understand why
point.
So many people went to see the first Avatar so many times in theaters. It might be the same here. It probably will be. All the IMAX theaters were full, but
That's good.
But besides that,
that's the most expensive ticket.
That's true, but it was wide open in all the other theaters. So I'm very curious to see.
Yeah, my theater wasn't jam packed.
I know when I was checking the night before, I think there was like 5 to 6 people in each theater for the later shows. So I just don't know. I really don't have any idea because I looking back, I do think the first Avatar has that idea of being the first really photorealistic CGI movie property that did it well and did it not in hitting the uncanny valley. And sure, this one looks great. It looks amazing, especially if you know the technical in and outs of CGI and how that stuff works in film. But I wonder what the Joe Schmo, just kind of regular movie theater goer goes, and when they see it.
So I was talking to Casey, friend of the show, and my other friend Nick. They saw it together and they loved it. They both really liked it, and I wouldn't call Casey a Joe Schmo. With
I was gonna
movies,
say I feel like Casey.
no,
it's not even if they liked it, but like
my friend Nick, like definitely more of a Joe Schmo with movies. Like he definitely watches movies, but I think he's on a different level than maybe you, me, and Casey. So
no, for sure.
He liked it.
No, and I guess I'm more speaking to the like, are people really noticing the way the water interacts with people? Like, or are they just being like, oh, that looks good? And like, if he'd spent like maybe a year or less, would that have made that much of a? You can never know. I'm obviously speculating here, but how much of that is making a difference to your average moviegoer? But I mean, again, they do look photorealistic. There's a part where they're helping her after she has her seizure. Kiri, after she has her seizure, and they're like pressing on her stomach, and it looks. I was like, is this just a real like blue skinned person that they're pressing on? Because it did look insane. I mean, we have gone past completely the uncanny valley of if you want to spend time on that CGI, you can get a photorealistic person that you might not be able to notice the difference of. Like those avatars, especially even when they're interacting with humans, it's flawless. It looks great. And it doesn't feel nearly janky. And I do thought one of my kind of gripes in the first one was the physics of the Na'vi. They felt a bit floaty to me. In this, I think they feel a lot more weighty and real and kind of set within the universe they're in. But yeah, Avatar, The Way of the Water, box office. I'm sure it'll make its money back. It would be very surprising to me. Just because of how well the first one did. That it would.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe there's some Avatar phenoms out there. If you like the first one, I think you'll like this. If you were on the first one, you might like this. Gooch did. So, and I won't sit here and be like, this is a dog shit movie. That's impossible to say. It just wasn't for me. I didn't find it to be this technical. It was a technical spectacle again, which is fine. But Gooch, everyone, thank you all so much for joining us on this Delco Nerd Network. I was about to say rewind review.
You were.
Hot take. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We're on all the social medias as well at Delco Nerds on basically everything. We have a Facebook page. We have a Discord channel that should all be linked down below. You can yell at me for my thoughts on Avatar if you'd like. You can also find all this information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can email us, DelcoNerds@gmail.com with all your comments, questions, or concerns. We'd be happy to respond. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we see you.